In this tutorial, you will learn how to make a no-sew tied hair bow. Here is a list of the supplies you will need. You will need a 5 by 18 inch strip of Bullet Textured Liverpool Fabric, either scissors or rotary cutter, a ruler, either an elastic hair tie or thread, and an attachment of your choice, which could be a nylon headband, hair tie, or hair clip. The fabric I'm using is Bullet Textured Liverpool Fabric. I'm going to be cutting it into a 5 by 18 inch strip. I'm going to skip ahead through the rest of the cutting of this fabric. Once it's done, the strip looks like this. I'm going to flip it over so that the wrong side is facing up. To start forming the bow, I'm going to fold it over 5 inches. And then once that's straight, I'm going to fold it over 5 inches again. Next, we're going to be working with the very middle of what we just folded over. So from the top to the bottom, we're going to do pinches all the way down. We're going to be doing 5 pinches total. Now we're going to go over the 2 different ways that you can hold this middle in place while you work on the rest of the bow. Way number 1 is to use an elastic hair tie to hold it in place. Now this is the quickest and easiest way, but it's not always the safest. If the child was to untie the bow, they could easily access the elastic hair tie, so that's something to keep in mind. So to use the elastic hair tie, I'm going to keep holding the middle with one hand where I did all the pinches. I'm going to grab the elastic hair tie with the other, put it on, and then you can kind of move it around to make sure it's right in the middle. Way number 2 is to use thread to hold the middle in place. To do this, you'll wrap thread around the middle a few times and then tie it. I'm going to use cotton thread to wrap around the middle. I'm going to switch hands and use my right hand to wrap it around a few times. And then I'm going to give it 2 ties just to make sure it's secure. Lastly, I'm going to cut the extra thread, and now I have my middle nice and secure. It is time to make the middle part that you will actually see once the bow is finished. We're going to use this extra fabric to make the middle of the bow. I'm going to do this in a way that makes the middle a little bit smaller. I'm going to cut 1 inch off the top and the bottom. To do this, you can use either scissors or a rotary cutter, and you're going to cut the 1 inch off the top and the bottom all the way over to the very middle of the bow. I'm going to fold the top and the bottom towards each other. Once this is completely folded, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to tie it closed, depending on what attachment you're using. First, I'm going to tie the bow closed and attach a nylon headband. I'm going to start by pulling it down to the bottom, wrapping it over the top of the bow. And then before I go to close it, I'm going to add the nylon headband. Now you're going to tie it into a knot by putting the tail underneath. Once that's through, you're just going to pull it, and then you're just going to straighten your bow. Once you have it adjusted to the way you want it, you will need to cut the extra fabric right here on the back. Now I'm going to tie the bow closed and attach a hair clip. So I'm going to start by showing you right before we added the nylon headband. So we're going to do the exact same thing to tie it closed. I'm going to put it right underneath and then pull it through. Now I'm going to pull it tight and adjust it to the way that I want it. It is time to add the hair clip. All you're going to do is slide it right under. Make sure to pull it tight again. When it's adjusted to the way you want, you're going to cut the extra fabric on the back. Thank you for watching. For more tutorials, make sure to subscribe.